Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Cloud Connect 2021 event. Thank you for tuning in this morning. My name is Jeevan Tangapan. I'm the managing editor of Insight Media and Publishing. Before we get started, a couple of housekeeping rules. All the attendees are in listen-only mode. If you have any questions for our speakers or panelists, please save it till the end and use the chat box functionality in Zoom. We are also recording this webinar, and if you want a copy, please get in touch with us. And if you're posting on social media, the hashtag for this event is Cloud Connect, and you can also see our social media handles on the screen now: Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Now, let me also take this opportunity to thank our sponsors, our signature partners, Aruba, F5, McAfee, Veeam, VMware, Western Digital, Rubrik, Netapp, and our event partners, Exclusive Networks, Epicor, and Veritas. You can also see the agenda for this event on the screen now. We have 2 presentations followed by an interesting panel discussion. So once again, welcome to this event. In the last 18 months or so, we have seen an accelerated adoption of cloud in the Middle East, right? Because businesses wanted to achieve cost efficiencies and business continuity. And it seems this pandemic has validated the true value proposition of the cloud. Almost all businesses today use the cloud in some form or the other, be it software as a service, or application as a service, or even platform as a service. In fact, I read a report recently from Gartner which says by 2024, all cloud will make up for almost 15% of the global enterprise IT spending. And that is not a surprise. So we got some experts today to talk to you about how you can use the real power of the cloud to transform your business. So our first speaker of the day is Eseldin Hussain. He serves as a solution engineering manager in VMware. He spent the last 20 years evangelizing an industry-wide shift to the cloud in the region by promoting virtualization and cloud services. With a unique mix of knowledge about different industries, businesses, and technologies, has passionately helped many customers through their digital transformation journeys. Eseldin, take it away.
Thank you, Jeevan. May I start sharing from my side?
Yes, please.
Can you just confirm you see my screen?
Oh, yes, we can.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Eseldin Hussain. I'm a solution engineer manager in VMware. Happy to be with you talking about the buzzword of this day, multi-cloud, and how can companies and customers adapt for this, and why actually this is happening. Maybe Javid mentioned an example, which is pandemic lockdown, which really helped a lot to boost the cloud in our region specifically and globally for sure. So when we had the discussions with our customer, usually their main concern is about system stability, and we tend to think stability means less choice and less options. So one platform is good for me, which is fine. If you can do this, will give you maybe less complexity and definitely better stability. But in reality, it didn't happen. So we found our customer is really using more than one platform. When it comes to cloud, while they tend to start with one cloud provider, it ends up by multiple, 2 or 3. And why is that? And definitely the ultimate, maybe I need to go for a one cloud provider or a one cloud deployment, maybe private or maybe public. But why this makes and the multi-cloud have been really raised and used by a lot of our customer globally. Quickly, because this slide can take a day by itself, there is 3 law controlling this. And let me start by the far right, because it's a clear law of land. My data should be in country, so I cannot go outside the public cloud, not an option for me. So we will see this laws of land really forcing many of customers to focus on maybe private cloud or maybe local cloud provider within the country. And we have the law of economics. It's cheaper for me to put maybe the R&D or the DevOps or maybe the test platform over a public cloud, and I can consume it from there. It's cheaper. Those guys really can give me a very nice price. So you will see yourself as a customer tend to go to one of those public cloud provider due to the laws of economy and laws of physics. You know, I cannot send terabyte of data to a cloud provider somewhere on Earth to do the analytics and return data to me if I'm driving an autonomous car and I need to do a calculation in a microsecond to take a decision if I will do an accident or not. I cannot wait till the data go over like internet with the latency, with low latency we knows, and get the result. Accident would happen during this time. So with these three laws, really, we reach to a conclusion. The industry reached to a conclusion. The world will not go private forever, public forever. It will be this mix. You will have some workload running in your private cloud, some workload running in a public cloud, maybe Azure, another workload may be suitable to run in AWS or IBM or Oracle. So we will have this. And this definitely lead to like a challenge to our customer and how can I manage this in an easy way? And this is where VMware is really try to help a customer to be able to manage their data center or their application in a much easier way. And we thought, let us make it very easy to our customer and let us put a vision which we really restructured all our solution and product to be able to serve the customer at the best to eliminate all this challenge. Our vision in a simple word, we want to help you to run any application on any cloud and access this from anywhere. When we say any application today, it could be legacy application, traditional 3-tier application, or it could be SaaS application, or even could be cloud native application running in a container, microservices app. And when we say running this on any cloud, it could be your private data center, your private cloud. It could be a public cloud, one of the hyperscaler like Microsoft, Oracle, IBM, or Alibaba, or locally to your country like Vodafone, Etisalat, Do, or it could be edge. Like I'm a factory and I need to have an edge cloud near to my data rather than putting the data near to the application. I will get the application near to the edge, which is one of the common case now, or it could be a telco cloud, or the mix of all of this, which lead to a hybrid cloud, and give you the capability to access those applications from anywhere, irrespective in which cloud it's running. And accordingly, we reorganize our product portfolio. So we will focus today on the multi-cloud one. However, we have a rich product portfolio when it comes to app modernizations. Of course, access this from anywhere lead to a rich product portfolio of digital workspace, and security goes across all of this as an intrinsic security within our VMware portfolio. So we started by the customer challenges, what they're really facing today and how can we resolve this. So many, it was under 3 categories. First one is silos. When I go for those multiple cloud provider, means different team, different operation procedures, different platform, different challenge, different troubleshooting way, different skill set. Either I need to train all my staff across all those platform, or I need to get a specialized team, a dedicated team for each platform. And definitely reducing complexity was one of the key points we want to make sure we will give it to our customer. And the second point was the growth of all of this application. Application used to be client server, app tier, database tier, web tier, and it evolved to be SaaS-based, and now it evolved to be cloud-native microservices. It used to run on a bare metal server, and then it moved to virtual machine, and now in a container. So how can I really make the environment or make the application requirement achievable wherever I want to run it? And how can I have this developer experience and achieve this DevOps practice within my organization? So ensuring flexibility is one of the key points. We want to make sure it's available in our system. And finally, how can I cope with the business? Because they always blame us. IT is really showstopper or slowing the business. So how can I make sure I achieve whatever kind of innovations, and how can I give the agility and speed the business is expecting to me, utilizing the public cloud offering. I want to consume AI from maybe Google, and how can I easily consume this innovative services without really compromising security and provide to the business whatever kind of agility they are expecting. So increase agility and speed is the third pillar where we try to give to our customer. If we scan today any customer platform, we will see this as a reality. Some of their workload could be running on AWS because they like some of their services, like maybe Lambda for function as a service. Some other could be on Azure because maybe they are getting a good discount when it comes to Windows, or a better security if they have a legacy version of Windows Server, and maybe third provider like Google because they have a very niche AI ML services, or maybe still majority of my workload running on-prem on my data center in a private cloud in VMware. So 4 different silos in a simple example. So it could be in some cases 2 or 3 or 5 silos. And you will need a dedicated operation team for each, and you need a different skill set for each, and you will need a different way of managing this, operating it, and provisioning the application on this one. So we thought, how can we really resolve and help our customer this? So the ultimate goal is let us agree on a fact. You will need to deal with a 3 or 4 or multiple cloud provider. But what if we can give you a consistent operation across all those cloud providers? You're still using it, but with managing it from one single pane of glass, having consistent developer experience. They just consume resources. They just create their own app, and they don't care where it will be created, how it is created. And we ensure the security for you across all those multiple cloud, and we can even provide application portability where you can move it from one of those providers to other. And it wasn't easy for us in the beginning because everyone looking to VMware as a server virtualizations. Our innovation and expertise across the data center. So no one was looking to VMware as a company really doing a multi-cloud strategy, but we will see how we managed to do this. So if we look to a customer data center, building a private cloud, we have our core product, which is VMware Cloud Foundation, which help our customers to build a private cloud in a matter of hours, not a days or a weeks as it used to be before. And what we did as an initial step to help our customer go for a hybrid cloud and later on in a multi-cloud, we also put the same VMware Cloud Foundation in the hyperscaler. So you can consume VMware Cloud Foundation in your data center as a private cloud, as a customer, owned, dedicated, managed by you, or you can even consume it from AWS. So we have VMware Cloud on AWS, which basically VMware Cloud Foundation stack. And we have it Azure VMware Solution AVS, which you can consume it from Azure. And we have Oracle VMware Solution, and we have Google VMware Solution, and we have Alibaba, and we have IBM. So the same stack became available on all hyperscalers. So you can have hybridity, you can have application portability across all of this. But we didn't stop here. So what about if I want to consume native services from Azure, from Google, from IBM? So we also want to make sure you can manage this from the same management tool, same pane of glass. So we extended our management layer not only to manage a VMware-based cloud platform, but also manage, operate, provision on the native cloud provider. So you will see here our VMware Realize stack, vRealize stack, and the Cloud Health is not only operating within your private cloud, but have been extended to edge and even public cloud. And not only running your application in a virtual machine, but now we support containers, so you can run even application in a container by giving the Kubernetes as a built-in capability and feature within our hypervisor. And regarding security, so we extended our VMware NSX and Carbon Black solution to give you the intrinsic security, endpoint security, workload protection across all, either on your data center, on your private cloud based on VMware, or even across those hyperscale. And guess what? Now you can have a unified operations team. So same skill set your team used to know and have about VMware, you can apply it across all of those stacks. So you don't need to learn something differently or new about the Azure or Google or Oracle Cloud. So it's for them, it's the same interfaces they used to use within their private data centers. It just have been extended across all of those cloud providers. So eventually what VMware is really give to you as a customer is being able to build, run, manage, connect, protect your application across all those cloud providers. Locally, your data center, private cloud, or VMware-based cloud provider locally in your country, AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, Alibaba, IBM, and Oracle Cloud. And we give you a rich product portfolio to do this. We give you VMware Tanzu to be able to build your application. So we have our own stack now, which is acquired from Pivotal. We have a Spring Source, we have a Spring One, Spring Boot, all this, it's a Java framework which can help the developer to really build the application. And we give you the run capability where you can run this application, either running in a virtual machine or running on a container on any one of those cloud providers. And we give you the managed capability by VMware vRealize and Cloud Health, where you can manage your application, not only in your data center, but even across any one of those cloud providers. And we give you the protect or the connect, sorry, using VMware NSX and the protect using the Carbon plan. So if we look now to the application, because this is basically where our customers start, it's, as you say, one size doesn't fit all. You cannot take one strategy and you say, you know what, I decided to stay on-prem, or I will go to public cloud, or I maybe rewrite my application code. So what we usually do and have it as a tool and within VMware is to do application transformation study and see what fit each of your applications. So we have this slides called 5R. It's a standard slide. So we try to give you all the solution and capability to classify your application and move it to one of those R. So it could be retained. My application is legacy. I need to maintain it locally in my data center for a period of time. But I need to innovate even locally in my data center. So I might go for a hybrid converged solution or a composable solution. How can I innovate even locally within my data center and have an open API where I can integrate with any system? So we give you the solution where you can keep your application in data center, but optimizing the platform to run it as is with a better performance, with a better security. Or maybe this application is a good candidate to run on a cloud. So I want to rehost, I want to migrate this application to a cloud, but without any disturbance. So I want a mechanism and way where I can take this application as is and move it to Azure, as we said, or to Google, or to Oracle, or to IBM Cloud, or AWS, or maybe re-platforming. I used to run it in a VM, I want to run it in a container. Or I own the source code, I'm willing to rewrite the code in a microservices. I want to have the AWS or Amazon experience where I can push an update and feature every second without letting my end customers is really feeling I'm doing anything in the backend. Or finally, it could be retire. It was a legacy client server, and now there is a SaaS version. I used to use Exchange. I'm willing now to go to Office 365. So I can retire those legacy application and start consuming it as a service. So again, we did our best to make sure whatever your strategy to your application, we give you the tool and the solution to do this. So if you want to retain your application, we keep enhancing VMware vSphere, our flagship product, adding a better capability, more feature, more security, and even supporting extra a new workload. Like if you want to run AI, ML workload, you can do this. And we did a lot of work and with NVIDIA, for example, to support GPU virtualization and being able to give you the capability to run an AI workload on the same vSphere. With Rehost, we have this cloud foundation as a middleware across all the hyperscaler. So we have Azure VMware solutions, VMware on AWS, and VMware on Dell, VMware Cloud on Dell, VMware Cloud with Oracle, with Google, with Alibaba. And when it comes to replatforming, so we have the Tanzu platform, which help our customers move the application from running in a virtual machine in a container. When it comes to build and refactor, we have the Tanzu platform for application services, build services, Spring Source, where it can help our customers to rewrite the application. And when it comes to retire, we have our workspace solutions, which can help you to access your application from anywhere in a secured way. Why we don't have our own cloud, but this is how VMware system or cloud are reached. So look at VMware as the Uber of cloud. So we have today, as we speak, more than 85 million workload. Actually, this 15 million of those workload running in a cloud. Those cloud could be one of our local cloud provider. We have almost 4,500 of a cloud provider partner or a hyperscaler, as we said, like AWS, Oracle, Alibaba, Google, IBM, and all of those. Really, we have access to all their cloud data center, and our customer can start using it and get the benefit of the local services they are providing. Why our customer and sample of our customer using VMware multi-cloud? It could be for a DR. So some companies like BHH Mortgage, they decided, you know what, having a passive DR, doing all this investment without any really business value, maybe is not the optimal solution for me. Let me go and consume my DR from a cloud provider like AWS, or could be I want to extend my data center. I still need to maintain my data center, but during a burst time, or maybe during a seasonal time, I want to go to cloud provider. I want to use them as an extension to my data center, and this is what Playtech are doing. They providing gaming services, and at a certain period of time, they need to extend to a cloud provider. Or maybe, you know, I will shut down the data center. Extreme case, I will go fully to a public cloud. So I want to migrate all my workload to a cloud, one of the cloud provider. And this is why HS Marketing did by moving all the workload without any disturbance in a fast way to a public cloud. Or no, I still need to maintain my data center, but I want to get the benefit of this next generation app. I want to access AI services from those cloud provider or ML or function as a service. So I want to just go to the cloud provider to be able to modernize my application. So this is what we really managed to give our customer as a benefit of multi-cloud solution from VMware. So having consistent infrastructure across your data center, the public cloud, the edge, and being able to extend your data center across all of this, giving you a consistent operation across all of these platforms without need to retrain your team. One platform to your application, irrespective it's running in a virtual machine form factor or in a container form factor with an open API. And definitely CapEx and OpEx saving is a crucial, and we really managed to give this to our customer. And finally, giving you the agility to be able to deliver the IT services the business need in no time. This is what some of the sample of our customer realizing. So having a hybrid cloud operation, being able to migrate to cloud easily, scale on demand, having a unified multi-cloud operation or app modernization. Sorry if I exceeded by 3 minutes. So with that, I will open if anyone have any question.
Yeah. Thank you, Asaldin. I think we'll take the questions later, and we'll get back to you if there are any other questions. So thank you once again for that wonderful presentation. Now let's move on to the next speaker, who's going to talk about one of the hottest buzzwords in our industry today, SD-WAN, and that is Iyad Al-Naki. He's the systems engineering architecture lead at Aruba Networks. He's an SD-WAN engineer with more than 10 years of experience in building smarter networks and telecom systems. Iyad, the mic is yours.
Thank you, Jeevan. Good morning, everybody. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, so good morning, everyone. My name is Iyad Al-Naki, and I've been with HPE Aruba for almost 5 years. Today I'm going to talk about how to build a cloud-first SD-WAN for your organization, and that's going to be powered by the Aruba Edge Connect solution. So I'm not going to start preaching. You guys are probably familiar with this. You've seen these numbers many times over the past couple of years. I think we've gone well beyond just discussing the possibilities of moving applications to the cloud to this being a true transformational way of doing business. I just want to highlight a couple of things here. We've got 60% of organizations are adopting cloud to improve branch and remote worker security. Now, I just want to highlight that this 60% was taken pre-COVID-19. So if anything, organizations are adopting the cloud even faster to improve the branch and remote security. But these are just some numbers just to set the scene. Now, as my colleague just mentioned, moving to the cloud is not always straightforward process. There will be obstacles, there will be challenges along the way. And these are just some challenges. I mean, you've got traffic is doubling. Research from IDC found that network traffic doubles every 36 months due to the increasing adoption of cloud services. And guess what? Most networks can't keep up. MPLS-based networks and private circuit networks are far too rigid and complex to satisfy the growing bandwidth demands. And we all know congestion kills performance. When you have proliferation of cloud applications, you're consuming more cloud applications, and that could cause congestion, which could basically impact your application performance. Again, many organizations still backhaul their traffic to a data center and then break out to the internet from the data center because they've invested in security and they want to secure everything. Now that model does not scale anymore. It's not really meant for this era, basically. The fourth challenge is communications, and the communications can be at risk. When you have real-time applications like Zoom and Teams and unified communications in general, contact center traffic, for example, that can run bandwidth thin, making them, notoriously sensitive to things like jitter and packet loss. Cloud services also suffer. So when you have AWS, Azure, or the other public cloud environments, they can also suffer from slowdowns. They can have slowdowns when any of the underlying services are impacted. So there are other challenges as well, but this is what we see from when we talk to clients. So as we said before, the legacy networks are not meant for this era. The cloud breaks legacy network and security. So as applications move to the cloud, legacy network and security architectures can't keep up. They were designed for a time when all applications resided in the data center. They were not designed to support cloud applications. So if you want to consume an Office 365 application, if you want to access your OneDrive or SharePoint, for example, you have to send the traffic to a data center, which is, I don't know how many milliseconds, and then out to the internet. So you're not going through the shortest path or the most optimal path. And then we have branch users wanting to access cloud applications. Again, it doesn't make sense to send all traffic and then, egress or breakout from the DC. That could be a single point of failure. And even if you have dual DCs or a couple or three data centers, for example, you're still relying on a couple of ISPs to deliver or to access your cloud applications. So this requires obviously a true WAN transformation. You need to transform your WAN to be able to leverage or consume cloud services. Unfortunately, MPLS-based services need to change. I'm not saying SD-WAN it is all about reducing or completely removing MPLS. SD-WAN is there to either augment the MPLS or maybe get rid of MPLS completely 100%. But as a way to improve performance, SD-WAN is there to have predictable, consistent performance across the board. It's there to have a consistent policy across the board, and it's there to reduce costs as well, operational and network costs. Now, besides WAN transformation, you also need to think about security transformation, because now the applications can be anywhere. The users or the workers can be anywhere. So in the old model where all the applications were hosted in the data center, you could secure it very, very well. You could have, you can have private and MPLS connections, and you can have big next-gen firewall that performed all of the security functions you wanted. So this is basically what the blue circle shows. But now the security perimeter is dissolving. Applications are moving to the cloud. Workers can be anywhere. They can be working from Starbucks, from hotels, from their rooms. And investing in next-gen firewalls or placing next-gen firewalls at each location doesn't make sense at all. And this is essentially what SASE is all about: the secure edge. The Gartner SASE is all about. So basically, in SASE, you've also got other functions as well, such as Zero Trust Network Access, ZTNA, and also you've got the Cloud Access Security Broker, or CASB, being added. For those of you who are not familiar with ZTNA, ZTNA is basically the next gen of VPNs. So VPNs are almost gone, and they are being replaced by ZTNA models. The point I'm trying to make here is that you also need to think about security transformation besides doing WAN transformation. And this is what digital transformation is all about. Digital transformation requires both WAN and security transformation. It requires advanced SD-WAN and cloud security to take advantage of modern cloud applications and modern cloud infrastructure. So this was released by Gartner. The term SASE was released in August, I believe, 2020. And this is what the circle represents, basically. So in terms of WAN transformation, the Aruba Edge Connect solution will intelligently steer applications on the first packet. So we will recognize the applications right from the first SYN packet. We will steer it in the right direction. We will apply the correct business-driven quality of service and security policy. We will obviously steer traffic to the data center for private legacy applications, and also steer traffic to SaaS services like Office 365 and Zoom and so on and so forth. So this model actually, besides the steering, the intelligent steering, it allows you to transform your security at your own pace. You don't have to break out everything. Not everything has to go out to the internet straight. You could selectively choose the type of applications that need to access the internet and the type of applications that need to be inspected by a cloud security solution such as Zscaler or Prisma and so on and so forth. So this is how the business-driven SD-WAN looks like. You've got your branches, your data center, public cloud, private cloud, SaaS, and this is how you stitch things together. The fabric is going to be built between the Edge Connect appliances. We will form tunnels. Everything is encrypted. The overlays will be formed between the Edge Connect appliances. Everything will be managed by a true single pane of glass, which is done through the orchestrator. The orchestrator provides centralized management, configuration. It's a very user-friendly platform, which gives you the ability to change policy and have consistent configuration and policy across the board with few mouse clicks. Now, in terms of accessing cloud services in the cloud, there are several models. On the left-hand side, you could very much build, manual IPsec tunnels, which you could do with any router, really. The middle option is where we leverage the API. In Aruba, we invested quite a lot in automation and integration with cloud solutions and cloud vendors. We can build up the tunnels to AWS Transit Gateway Manager, for example, and the Azure Virtual WAN automatically using the APIs. The model on the right is what we call doorstepping. This is where you can deploy a virtual Edge Connect instance in any of the cloud solutions, be it public or private, and that will give you the end-to-end SD-WAN functionality. You get all the SD-WAN features, and you extend your fabric all the way to the cloud doorsteps. So this is a sample. This is a screenshot from the orchestrator. We've done quite a lot of partnerships. This is where we bring in the operational simplicity. This provides you fast and secure onboarding to workloads directly from the branch locations, and most importantly, it gives you an optimized user experience for IaaS applications. This is just a sample. We've got the AWS Transit Gateway Network Manager, Office 365, and Microsoft Azure as well. Now, in terms of multi-cloud, as my colleague just described, organizations will be adopting multi-cloud. Chances are you will be, consuming services from multiple public or cloud vendors. SD-WAN is there to basically extend the fabric to all of them and to have a consistent user experience across the board. In this example, we've got 4 different cloud solutions or environments. In each one of them, you will have an instance of Edge Connect. Everything is going to be encrypted between the branches or between the public clouds, and you can exchange routes and optimize traffic end to end. You don't have to use private circuits like Direct Connect or Express Route. You can very much use the internet and still maintain the same user experience and quality of experience. This is just another interesting use case for ruggedizing the first mile or the last mile. So by having 2 ISPs, for example, you bond these 2 together and apply all the SD-WAN features like tunnel bonding, path conditioning, load balancing, dynamic path control, sub-second failover, and that gives you basically a true, a very solid user experience, no matter where the branch is. So in a nutshell, these are some of the benefits. By truly modernizing your WAN and security, you get 3 main benefits. We basically give you the highest quality of experience by increasing the application performance, even though you're relying on internet-based services, not in PLS. We're minimizing the risk by delivering consistent network and security policy. We reduce the cost, the operational cost, but also the network-related cost. We eliminate the need for backhauling, and we start leveraging consumer-based broadband or DIA circuits rather than expensive MPLS circuits. And most importantly, we give you the freedom of choice. Freedom of choice, best of breed. You can choose, mix and match the security solution. You don't have to consume everything from a single vendor. You can basically mix and match between different security solutions from different vendors, but the WAN edge is the most important factor. The edge is the pivot point, basically, and this is what SASE is all about. Sorry for being late. I think I'm running 3 minutes late, so thank you very much for tuning in, and I'll look forward to the questions later on.
Yeah, thank you, Iyad. We will take the questions later. Please stay with us right till the end. And I think it's time for us to move on to the panel discussion now. So let me invite all the panelists to the stage. Mohammed Rizk from Veeam, Vibin Shaju from McAfee, Khaja Saifuddin from Western Digital, Walid Issa from Netapp Middle East, and of course, Samir Sahil from F5. Can I have all the panelists on the stage, please, and the cameras turned on? Yeah, let's see, Samir is in. All right, I think we have all the panelists in. Let's get started, right? It's an interesting topic. So we have a lot of CIOs in the audience today, and they all want to know what is the right cloud model to meet their business needs. I mean, there are many flavors of the cloud, right? You have public, private, hybrid, multiple public clouds. So what is the right model for them? And that is my first question to all our panelists. So if I could start with you, Walid from Netapp, can I have your thoughts on this? What is your advice to the CIOs in the audience?
Hi, Jovan, and hi, everyone. Yeah, so maybe just a bit of a background. So today's CIO must address, a range of challenges to meet their increasingly demanding business and operational objectives, so they can remain competitive and, at the same time look for new market and new opportunity. And as you know, and you just said, cloud has become the trend to help them deal with those challenges and achieve their objective. And the question is, why are CIO looking to the cloud to help them solve, these complex business and technology challenges? The answer is that cloud promises them to create better operational efficiencies, speed up application deployment, provide the flexibility that they need to respond quickly to changes, to changing business requirement. And we heard some of that from my colleagues, Azzuddin and Iyad. So moving forward for the models, the CIOs today, they have two pathways, private or public, and each have advantages and disadvantages. I'm going to be positive, just look at the advantages. So, deploying a private cloud will help them increase agility, give them more control. But if we go the other way, which is public, it will help them, for example, reduce costs like OpEx, no maintenance costs, etc. It will also give them like near unlimited scalability on compute, storage, network, resources, you name it. In my opinion, and in line with also my colleague Azzeddin on previous presentation, the best option is to get a flavor of both, right? Which is in this case a hybrid model. So today hybrid is the new normal, and I would say the most common for IT organizations. However, and regardless of the cloud model, if I think from CIO perspective, CIO today they want the freedom to move applications and workloads to the optimal environments as their need changes, right? And data management is key here. That's why for a hybrid cloud model, we need an architecture that gives us that flexibility to access the right set of resources, to meet the needs of the application, and freedom also to change them whenever they want. At Netapp, we call this the data fabric. So this data fabric will help CIO realize, the full potential of their hybrid cloud model or hybrid cloud architecture, I would say, and make the best decision for their business. Now, thinking hybrid and data fabric, it's really very important also to touch base on, okay, I want to go hybrid, and I want to deploy a data fabric. So what are the design principles that I need to have or I need to take into consideration? The first one is control. It's very important, that model should be able to securely retain control and governance of the data, regardless of its location, whether it's on-prem, near the cloud or in the cloud. Another factor that CIO should look for is the freedom of choice. So they should have the choice to choose, which cloud, and to choose the application ecosystem, the delivery methods, the storage system, and deployment model. And very important, freedom to change in the future. Now, another important factor is access to data. We should be able to easily get data to where applications need it, and when they need it, and in a way that they can use it efficiently. The last one I would say is consistency. So they should be able with this model to manage data across multiple environments, including multi-cloud. And this is using common tools and processes regardless of where data resides. So in conclusion, when a data fabric deliver on these principles, the factors that I spoke about, it will help the CIOs to increase efficiency, improve IT responsiveness, and in turn accelerate innovation in a hybrid cloud environment.
Saif, if I could ask you this, do you think data management is the key to succeed in the cloud?
So just, I would take a step back and what Mr. Walid just mentioned. I think so there's certain other aspects to be looked at while deciding for a cloud. First of all, before we get into the data part of the cloud, it's, of course, private versus public is the first cornerstone. But then the key things which come up are the scalability, the security, the certification and licensing costs, and also at times the lock-ins from certain vendors when you go in for those solutions. So the CIO today needs to look at the complete parcel, that if he's going into the cloud, it's only because he has an anonymous amount of data which needs to be saved in a way that it's accessible, it's scalable, it's secured, and it's in a way that the users can access it and convert that data into information. Because today, what we are doing is storing data locally, on premise, on the public clouds, and everywhere there is data. But the criticality comes in when we want to transform that data into meaningful information, when we want to access it on the go. So yes, having access to data or the way the data is being stored becomes the key, because if that's missing, the entire investment goes for a toss.
Perfect. Mohammed, can I have your thoughts on this?
Yeah, my colleagues covered this topic thoroughly, and I believe they are right in the points that they have mentioned from cost perspective, security, data access management, and flexibility, and no vendor lock-in. And from our experience in the market, we see organizations across the region are going to hybrid cloud model more than public or private. But again, there is no gold answer or solution. Should I go public or private? It depends on each organization needs and applications and requirements. Because with each model, as my colleagues mentioned, there is an associated cost and skills needed. And however, since I work for a data protection vendor, there is one point that most organizations miss, which is the shared responsibility model. Shared responsibility model dictates that the hyperscaler, if we are going to a public cloud, is responsible for the availability of the services, but never for the availability of the data. It's the responsibility of the organization to protect their data. That's one point that when going to the public cloud should be considered. The other point is how easy I will exit that specific public cloud provider. Is it easy to migrate, move my data from one cloud provider to another or not? And if we are going to with private, do my team have enough skills to deal with those technologies? And what would be the application that I will put on the cloud, whether public, private, etc. So when we talk about cloud or digital transformation, it's not just one button you click on and off. It's a complete journey that needs to be planned very well, and all aspects from cost, security, architecture, and application catalogs, and all of that should be considered when moving to the cloud, independent of the model.
All right, thanks. So we've been, you're from McAfee, so let me ask you security questions, right? I mean, security remains one of the top concerns when it comes to cloud adoption, right? Who is actually responsible for security in the cloud? Is it the user or the provider, or do you think it's a shared responsibility?
Yeah, I mean, Mohammed touched based on the shared responsibility model, right? So it's been a common misconcept in the beginning that when you move into cloud, so I can leave everything to the public cloud provider, and I kind of like forget about everything I used to do, right? And if you kind of like we kind of went on a panic mode into cloud. A lot of organizations, when the COVID came and the organization which never used to have such an infrastructure suddenly have all of their organization moving into cloud, and nobody expected it. And suddenly hundreds of SaaS applications popped up in organizations. The business units took those decisions and onboarded the cloud services. Sometimes even the CIOs or CISO was doing a catch-up game when it comes to some of those decisions, right? But now things have settled down. People are kind of assessing their cloud environment. We do a lot of shadow assessment. It's one of the best services any organization can do. When any shadow assessment which we do, we see hundreds of cloud services, right? Then we kind of like look at, what are these kind of services? Are they allowed to be in an organization or enterprise organization? So if they're allowed, how the data is protected. So obviously data is coming to the core of every cloud decision at the moment, right? At the end of the day, it's all about the data. You literally handing over your data to someone else's computer to run on, which is running on a multi-tenant environment as a fact. And we need to make sure that how do you protect that data which is in that cloud environment? I mean, organizations can take a decision, I will never go to cloud, but we all know that's where the industry is going, right? Anyone who's not going to cloud at the moment, after 3 months, you speak to that customer, they are moving to cloud, right? So luckily, there is a lot of compensating control. You know, we can look at encryption, we can look at tokenization. There's different ways to protect the data, but based on your business and criticality, you have to take a right decision in terms of what level of protection you need for your data. As a matter of fact, but data is kind of like the core of everything, and data security should be the primary concern, and that's what need to be addressed when you move into cloud.
All right, Samir, how important is it to optimize and monitor application performance in the cloud? And what are the CIOs telling you in terms of their application security and delivery challenges?
I think I will start with acknowledging, first of all, the reality of the market today and the reality of the job that CIOs and CXOs are having. They're becoming more business owners, and business has become, I would say, a synonym of applications. Every company now is doing business with applications. So this pressure of delivering untouchable, I would say, and reliable customer experience is now sitting on the CIOs and CXOs. So what does that mean for them and for the applications? Many, I would say, topics have been shared by my colleagues, and I would agree with every single of them. The technology that would basically convey and transport the application of the business, and how can you choose actually the right, I would say, cloud environment. Beforehand, starting with acknowledging what is your business, I would say, or digital asset, which is actually your applications. So the reality today is, if not 99% of the customers, most of the customers are going through a multi-cloud environment, where it requires, or it has, I would say, different technologies and different requirements. The first, I would say, challenge that I would see is the inconsistency of technology that would have an impact on the operational cost. At the end of the day, technology is technology, and the people behind it would make it speak in a way. So that's one of the challenges that we see, having in-house skills that would actually operate and manage those environments. Some companies are going through external organizations. Some companies are doing their own skill centers. The second challenge is, as much as you automate all those processes, there is always manual stitching that would help you actually to connect the dot between the different environments. And this is not scalable, because at the end of the day, it's manual. It requires actually hands force and skills, and skills is not as available as cloud services and the environment we have. The other element is also the challenge of the attacks that are becoming more and more, I would say, sophisticated, and the pressure of customers. I think one of the impact of COVID is, as customers, we became greedy. No one is willing, to accommodate a bad quality of service. So you need to be playing catch up in a way. You need to be very reactive or proactive in the way you secure your customer experience. And this is a challenge when you have, I would say, hybrid environment and different technologies. Finally, the data. The data speaks and gives you actually insight about the customers, and it's directly linked to the to what business is bringing to you and what customers are needing. So all of those make us believe at F5 that distributed cloud application will help you actually to have the perfect architecture to couple with all those different challenges. First of all, by providing, I would say, an infra that is decoupled with the applications, can help you to freely move your application from any environment, so you don't have that lock-in. And having a single, I would say, architectural design based, that's going to be based on business outcome. How can you basically have your application services to be reactive? How can you leverage the data to make your application, I would say, shadow the needs, scale up and down depending on the business outcomes? And second of all, how can you make the data closer to the customer or to the insertion points where you have your application services? So by having this distributed cloud services environment, you will put the applications, the data, where the customer needs them the most. And this is how we believe basically we can cope with the progress of or I would say with the ever evolving challenge that we see today in the IT environment.
Thank you. Right, coming back to you, Saif, we have a lot of highly regulated industries in the Middle East, right? Oil and gas, government, healthcare, banking. How can they move to the cloud? I know that a lot of hyperscalers like AWS, Azure have their data centers in the Middle East now. Do you think that has inspired a lot of confidence?
So, Jeevan, again, that takes back to the first question, that what is the ideal cloud model? And what was the reason for the cloud? Because you mentioned a lot of sectors. Today, the biggest definite thing in life is change. That yes, all these sectors are going through a transformation, and transformation in a way that every segment is now creating more and more data with the adoption of technologies than what they used to do pre-pandemic. So pandemic in a digital world, we can define as we do between AD and BC. So after the pandemic, the adoption of technology, the amount of data generation, the adoption of machine learning, artificial intelligences, and everything which is defined or built around data has grown many folds. So for all these segments, first of all, they need to identify that what is the size of operation, how do they want to save, access, and share the data, which is the backbone of these operations. Connectivity is a key thing, that based on their locations, what's the level of connectivity, that it's not only uploading the data, but it's also getting access to the data in the time when it's needed and in a processable speed. The other key thing which at times we miss out is, again, was touched base in your second question, is the security of the data. Because if you are in the medical field, if you are in such fields where the data has to be kept secure, its personal data files, or anything to do with government entities or even individuals, data security is a key thing. And people, the CIOs have to look at that with more emphasis, be it encryption, hardware or software encryption, they're using firewalls or dedicated hardware or software security measures they're taking. And that's where the certain vendors come into play, wearing the Western Digital hat. So like on our hardware, we provide a level of encryption, which is known as the TCG FIPS, which is a military grade encryption. The other thing which they need to keep in mind is that no matter how small or big your business is today, you have to consider scalability. That tomorrow, is your investment today going to stand good tomorrow? Are you able to scale it up? And what's the longevity of the planning which you have done? So you need to choose a model which is compatible, scalable, and cost effective going forward. There should not be any lock-in periods from vendors that, okay, then you get committed to a certain vendor only. And if you want to do something else, there's a bigger cost in doing it. What's the cost of certifications and licenses which you're going to be using in this? Because it's not only the hardware cost or the software cost, it's the total cost which then becomes or has to be considered before a solution has been implemented or before it's been decided that which way you're going to go in. The other thing also to be kept in mind is how you're going to be using that data. What's the transformation of data which is going to be happening between the data getting captured, processed, accessed, and recorded. So it is a big journey. And in that, backup again plays a significant role, because data is something which is not replaceable. Once if you lose it without taking adequate backups and stuff, there is no replacement for it. So adequate backup solutions need to be considered there as well. And again, something which is adequate, which knows how to save data and the scalability of those things. So these look to be very small check boxes, but in the bigger scheme of things, every point is very relevant in how you want to transform or want to travel that journey of digital transformation as the way the world is moving today.
Valid. You said the future of cloud is going to be hybrid, right? What kind of workloads are moving to the cloud, and what is going to remain on-prem?
It's it's a tricky question. Again, it depends on the on the customer requirements, right? And what I've seen is customer classifying their application and data according to certain security levels. So and I heard some of the colleagues mentioned where the data resides. So data that is like really very important, very critical from security perspective. It could be, I don't know, personal customer data, financial payment information, employee records. Depends, right, on how a certain company classified that data. They might want to keep it. They might want to keep it on-prem. All right. Things that could be more public. I see organization having no issue moving it to the cloud. But again, like I said before, I see most of the customers looking for flexibility. They would like to have that data available, whether it's on-prem or in the cloud, or even if it's in the cloud with multi-cloud, and have the flexibility to move it from one cloud to the other. Or make it available at the speed of the business, this kind of stuff. So tricky question, but as you can see, it depends on the classification of the data and the application.
Yeah. Okay, Mohammed, we heard Saif talk about the importance of backup, right? So how important is backup reliability in digital transformation initiatives?
Yeah, when we talk about digital transformation and independent, how you explain it and all of that. For me, if I want to explain it to a 3 years child, digital transformation is just having your services as digital, like your banking system services. In UAE, for example, we do it all online. Government services online, etc. So imagine one of those services goes down. What is the recovery plan for that service? Because at the end of the day, when we talk about a digital transformation, we are not talking about one server or one virtual machine or one cloud. We are talking about a service. How we offer that service from what are the components for that service? Our customers do not care. They just care that they need access to the service and to their data. So we cannot have digital transformation without making sure that independent of the disasters we have, God forbid, we are able to recover from it. That's first. Second, how fast we can recover from it. And third, I heard so many companies and I visited so many organizations. And one question I always ask to them, whether they are in the cloud or on premises, and whether they say they are doing digital transformation or not. I say to them, if I go to your data center and I choose randomly 5 services, and I ask you, do you have backup for those 5 services? You say yes, I click delete and format. How sure you are that you will be able to recover those 5 services without any issues? Believe it or not, the percentage of getting yes, they are sure is almost 0. And that's scary. Organizations spend so much money and efforts and training on backup solutions and data protection solutions, yet they never test their recovery plans. And if they test it on small amount of data, one service here or there, but never a full disaster recovery. So, and that's due to multiple reasons. Solutions are not easy from data protection perspective. They require a lot of resources, and I don't mean all, some of them. They lack the skills, maybe, at the organization. They cannot engage multiple teams from application to data protection to systems to security, etc., to test all of those things. And if they do it once, it would be once in a few years, while they need to test every single restore point, every single backup, etc. That's what should be done. Therefore, when organizations should make sure that they can recover from their backup. Backup is only half the story, but recovery is the full story. And they need to have this confirmation before discussing or claiming that they are fully digitally transformed. Before having those disaster recovery plans, they're tested, confirmed, and their resources are trained on it, they cannot ever claim that they are fully digitally transformed, because one downtime in one server or network port or natural disaster, it will bring the services down. And we have seen so many organizations going bankrupt because of ransomware attack or natural disaster or whatever kind of disaster that they have.
A scary scenario. All right. Yep. Coming back to cloud security, Vibin, how do you see it evolving in the future? We heard one of the speakers talk about Gartner's SASE model, SASE, Zero Trust. Do you think these are the models to go for?
So the cloud, as you know, it's so dynamic, right? I mean, first of all, we all been in the industry for long, and we have to rethink completely the way we were securing cloud when it comes to cloud. We were so used to securing the north-west traffic, and now we're talking about east-west traffic. How do you secure data which is sitting inside O365? You know, how do you secure using API models, which we never used to before? So everything what we have in cloud is new, but it's again, it's so dynamic and it's evolving fast. We can look at several areas how this is going to evolve. Remote workforce is a big thing now, right? I mean, people are still working remote, and it's going to continue for a very long time. And how do you secure remote workforce? Unmanaged users, bring your own device is a big factor. You cannot ask users anymore to have a corporate device. They will use their own phone, they will use their own laptop, and they're accessing a public cloud service. So, you know, how do you secure those access, which is where SASE and Zero Trust model is going to come a lot. Coming to SASE, Gartner is deriving a new model now called Secure Service Edge, which is the security part of SASE, which is a combination of three major technology, actually three major technologies, and data protection in the middle. So data protection come in the middle, and CASB, ZTNA, and Secure Web Gateway is going to be the three major technologies, right? So that will be the security arm where customers or just need to look at one single model to secure their whole cloud access. So that's with Secure Service Edge. The third part is the developers in the cloud, right? We see a lot of development happening in the cloud, and it's following agile model, and people are pushing code so fast into the cloud. How do you make sure you secure it? How do you make sure there is no misconfiguration in configuring S3 buckets or in their code? What library they use, right? So the CI/CD platform in terms of the posture assessment on how secure code development happens in the cloud. There is a lot of public cloud infrastructure hosting private cloud. You can have even several government in the Middle East are signing up contracts with the public cloud to host their private data center in the cloud, right? So how do you secure those? How do you secure the workload protection in the VM? Where traditionally the server is going to be there for the next 3 to 5 years. Now the servers and workloads will come in and they will go and disappear in a matter of hours or minutes. So how do you secure such a dynamic work VMware or dynamic work environments, virtual machines? How do you secure containers? It doesn't have the full operating system components, but how do you secure containers? Because end of the day, containers are also vulnerable to attacks. The serverless is the next factor. As a last part, everyone talked here about multi-cloud, and multi-cloud is such an important factor that because we don't want to lock into a customer to certain cloud provider, we want to give them the freedom to choose what they want for their business and we need to follow security to the way they need. We need to make sure, doesn't matter they go with any different level of cloud security cloud providers. We need to provide them a single dashboard. We need to provide them a single policy control. We need to provide them a same place to monitor their multi-cloud environment. And this is where this is going to evolve. And again, it's such a dynamic environment. It's difficult to predict, but this is where the trend is going.
Makes sense. Samir, where do you see application security and delivery portfolios heading?
No, actually, I would completely agree with what Vivian is saying. It's what we have to acknowledge is the sophistications of our applications and the sophistication of attack. Now, if you go actually and to the basics and understand where the attacks are coming from or the surface of the attack today, and this is all about the applications. So what make it, I would say, easy for a company to be hijacked or to be attacked? It's those cuts that we see in different environments where they have applications in environment A, B, C. Every environment has its own technology, and there is a gap. You cannot have the same, I would say, services in cloud A and cloud B, and this is creating a gap. So what we believe is to be able to elevate actually the level of security. You cannot be reactive, and unfortunately, many organizations that I'm talking to today, they only realize that they have been attacked because a customer would give a call and see an outage or they see in the newspapers. Being reactive have a huge impact on the business. I think the best way to give companies, I would say, the right means to secure that application is to give the application to the means to secure themselves. And RFI will believe that putting applications in what we call adaptive mode, which means your application would adapt to the needs of the customer, would be decoupled from the infrastructure so that actually you can move it from any environment depending on the needs. There is no actually stitching from cloud A or B that would force it to stay in an environment. Be able to talk in a way, send you insights based on the data, and say there is actually something that is not abnormal activity that's happening. Expand when needed. So this is, I think, what would help the companies to couple with the evolution of the attacks today, is to give the application the means to heal themselves and protect themselves. And that's what we see at RFI important with the adaptive application, I would say, vision that we're bringing together. Distributed cloud and multi-cloud is another layer, because it's giving the freedom to the application to sit where they need to be sitting. You develop an application in an environment, but it doesn't need to stick in that environment. It can go closer to the customer. It can be deployed at an edge. If it's an application that has critical data, you can put it on a private cloud in-house. So this, I would say, transition would require that your applications are independent from the environment they sit and the infrastructure. And that's what we believe distributed cloud services is bringing to market today.
All right. Maybe I have a follow-up question, if you don't mind. How can regulatory guidance and business transformation go hand in hand? It's a tough balance to strike, isn't it?
It makes a really big. Sorry, I thought it was wrong.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, it's okay. Who was the question for? To me.
It's for you. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah, it's tricky, right? I mean, regulators always wants to do the right thing for the business, but business also is so dynamic and they want to evolve faster, right? There has to be a fine balance. The core, sometimes the regulations are restricting the core nature of cloud, unfortunately, right? I mean, the core nature of cloud is agility, scalability. We all know that. But when you actually ask the business, if you want to go into the cloud, just be in this data center. The whole idea about cloud is gone, right? So unfortunately, there are instances that it is going in that direction now, but we all know this is not going to be future. There's more cloud providers coming into the region. It's coming to the country. Hopefully, the regulations will be more flexible in terms of compensative control. I mean, there are certain sectors and market which cannot be in a public cloud, right? And we understand that, and that is not going to happen. But there are certain industries clearly look at the regulation and say we cannot go into cloud. They need to go into the details and recognize that what are the things which you cannot send to the cloud, what are the things which you can send to the cloud, and if you're sending it to the cloud, what are the compensating control you need to provide? How can encryption play a role? And if you encrypt it, are you keeping the data with the cloud provider, or you should keep it? If you're keeping the key, what are the mechanisms you're using to secure the key, right? If it's a data which in the cloud which you're not using, how you're distracting that data once it's not used, right? The most disappointing fact is when the customer is in the cloud and they are not aware about it. That's the most difficult part, because you go into a lot of organizations, you talk about cloud security and they say, but we don't use cloud. And it's fine, when you do assessment, then you see a lot of cloud services not by their knowledge. That's a scary fact. We try to educate the customers that it is not their mistake. Why? Because there are certain individuals and certain business units spin up cloud without, and we call it shadow IT. It's not a new term. But it's still happening in a lot of, and every country in GCC at the moment is in a completely different level of cloud adoption, right? The certain countries like UAE is very advanced, but the certain countries, the region is still really getting their journey to the cloud. So it's good that we are in the market, which is so dynamic and so fresh and starting into the journey about cloud, but it falls in a lot of responsibility for us to make sure that all of our customers go into the cloud with proper regulation in place and make sure that their data is secure when they move into cloud.
All right. A lot of customers still see compute and storage separately. So Saif, my question to you is this. Do you see storage consumption models changing in the region? Do you see a demand for things like cloud storage or storage as a service now?
Yes. To answer your question in short, just to look at it today, storage is about everything. Because whatever services, whatever applications, whatever is happening, it's happening about the data which has been saved somewhere. As soon as we get into the multiple locations of that data, or even on that same data, as soon as we start backing up that data, we start putting different applications, we start accessing it from different type of devices, we start moving that data or a part of that data to be accessible over the cloud. That transformation on data starts happening. So if we look at data, data is nothing, but it's the information which we derive out of that data, which is invaluable. So we keep on moving the data or start playing with the transformation of that data over different platforms, over different means. But it's the information which becomes more and more critical because we keep on deriving that out of that acquired data. In the region, we've seen a lot of transformation happening across, especially in the last few years with the adoption of technologies where things used to happen over the phone or you used to walk across and get those services done. Now, everything has moved into some sort of an app or data exchange of information or exchange of services in that. So that is something which has boosted the transformation route of the data in the region. That has also started certain verticals which had kept away from that data transformation, be it the smallest of the enterprises we used to have, the smallest of the grocery stores. Now everyone is getting into some sort of a service provider which is accessible through the different means of IT. So depending on that, between compute, storage, it's a different model for different verticals. But yes, it can exist. It can exist in silos. So it all depends on how we want to define that ecosystem in which we want to survive.
Walid, I'm very curious to know what is Netapp doing to simplify cloud storage? Because you are a storage software expert. Walid, you're muted. You need to unmute.
Yeah, can you hear me now? Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, yeah. So So it's all about, you know, the data fabric that I mentioned earlier. So to make that data available to our customers, you know, wherever it resides, whether it's on-prem or in the cloud, right? But again, when we want our customers to, you know, which cloud model to adopt when it comes to storage, right? So we want to make sure that they keep up with technology and innovation changes. So while at the same time, I would say, you know, driving down the cost of data growth and aligning the capability across the company. So this is one thing. Cost is always important when going to the cloud, you know, from storage perspective. So reducing overhead cost is important, but while at the same time growing the business, okay, and attracting and retaining skilled employees, and you know, skills is very important in here. Also, moving to the cloud and from storage perspective, we need to make sure that we lower the risk when we are deploying, you know, this new mission critical application by ensuring that that data on that storage is kept secure and business disruption is kind of minimized. The other thing, again, from maybe I'm talking also from management perspective, storage and the cloud may introduce some complexity. So we want to make sure that this is simplified. And I would say the last one is improve IT responsiveness and very important, increase the service level for the business application to meet the rapidly evolving business demands and respond to the business quicker. Yeah, so these are the factors.
Thank you, Walid. Mohammed, recently we have seen hackers going after backup data in ransomware attacks, right? So how do you deal with this? Somebody is coming after your backup data.
You don't deal with it after it happens. You should be proactive, not reactive. If you planned your infrastructure well and your work routes well and you chose the right solutions well, you will not allow him to reach your data, backup data or production data. Even if he reached, you will be able to respond in a quick manner and restore your data. So previously I talked about how many organizations test their recovery plans and their backup data. Also, they need to test how fast they can recover from that ransomware attack or whatever kind of cyber attack. So having those tests and choosing the right solution for the organization and training the people on that solution and the recovery plan will allow organization to respond in the right way. That's first. And before that, organizations should have the required physical perimeter security, firewalls, or network security in general, user trainings, because believe it or not, most of the time attacks happen because of, and the security experts on this panel can maybe elaborate more on that, happens because of lack of skills from the employees of the organization. So we need to train our employees and users so this hacker doesn't have access to our data, whether production or backup. And also, we should always follow the rule of 3-2-1-0. What is 3-2-1-0? We should always have 3 copies of our data on 2 different media with 1 offline copy, meaning immutable backup copy. No one can change it or access it, and 0 tested for recovery. So if we follow that rule of 3-2-1-0, 3 copies of our data on 2 different medias and 2 different locations, with 1 of them is offline and tested for recovery, then the hacker, even if he deleted our production or backup data, we always have an immutable backup copy of that data that we can recover from. And if we tested the recovery, that we have the guarantee and the insurance and the confidence that will bring our services online in a quick manner, depending again on the solutions we choose for our data protection requirements.
All right, Samir, recently we have seen some global app and website outages that has impacted digital experiences and revenues. And for example, in June, a CDN outage took down websites like Amazon and Reddit. What is your perspective on that?
I think it's interesting to see actually how cloudification in a way it's going back to the I would say to the same problem. I mean, cloud was here to avoid a single point of failure, to give the application other environment where they can express themselves, where there is no pressure into having only one application or at least one environment where the application is performing. So we started to offload application services to other environments. And as we evolve through that, even though we do have hybrid environments and we do have application that resides in different environments, the cost of moving services from one to the other one is not easy, and sometimes requires a lot of time or I would say a manual action. It's becoming reactive. I think we should come back to the basics of what cloud is here today to I would say to undertake as a challenge, which is redundancy, and redundancy in terms of services, in terms of application, in terms of data, and unfortunately, because of the I would say the lock-in that some of the customers have gone through, you can see that today an outage can cause a lot of disturbance to not only one service, but different. Why? Because today, it's not a problem of having a server that's hosts an application. Your applications are fluid in a way, and they are present in different environments. And having an outage in I would say one of the cloud providers or a CDN provider, as an example, would impact different environments. And this would bring very, very, I would say, serious damage to business owners, reputation, loss, customer untrust. So it is important to go to the basics and having redundancy, having your application in different environments, but making sure that there is I like to call it the Schengen space between those environments, where the application, they don't need to show the passport. The passport is having someone to go and do the migration, or having someone to adapt the services that you might find in Cloud A and Cloud B. So decoupling your application from the services so they can communicate from different environments, I think would be a better way to overtake those challenges. And they will happen again. So that's what we recommend our customers to adapt to actually provide untouchable digital experience.
Right. I think it's time for us to wrap up this conversation, because I think I'm afraid we are out of time. But before I wrap it up, I have one final question to all our panelists, and give me your answers in less than a minute. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Do you think cloud is going to be the new normal? Saif, starting with you.
Yes, and I think so. It's already becoming the new normal. So it's no longer an alien or a very high-tech phenomena. Cloud started when we created our first Hotmail email address. So we have been living with the cloud for ages. It's just that we have started defining it in different ways now.
Hold on. Walid, very quickly.
Definitely, and like my colleague said, it is already the normal. It's most of the customers I'm talking to, it's either they have a cloud strategy or they plan to have one. So it is definitely the new normal and the future.
Vipin, can I have your 2 cents on this?
Of course, yeah. I mean, cloud brings a lot of advantages for the business, right? So there is no, everyone will adopt cloud at some stage, at some point, in terms of at least some of their services. And just like it brings a lot of advantages, it also brings a lot of risk. And as long as there's a proper governance in place, cloud is the best way to go for agile business model.
Samir?
I think I would say clouds. Indeed, clouds is the norm today, and customers cannot avoid that journey. And I'm happy to see that customers are harnessing clouds and do understand actually the benefits and the challenges, and they now are actually more confident and more comfortable in choosing the different environments and the different clouds. So it is a reality today.
Mohammed, you can have the last word.
Yeah, of course. The question is not if the organizations are going to the cloud or not. And the question is when they are going to the cloud usually. So cloud is the norm, and there are multiple models. Maybe some of them we didn't talk about today, like software as a service and platform as a service. And from my experience in the market, I see growth and such an adoption of such models, whether in addition to the private and public. So as my colleagues mentioned, when planned well, cloud brings a lot of advantages, but it needs to be planned well.
All right, thank you, gentlemen, for joining us today. Wonderful insights. I've learned something new today. So hopefully our CIOs in the audience have also learned something new from all of you. So once again, thank you to our sponsors, and thank you everyone for tuning in. And hopefully we will get to see you face to face very soon, because life is almost going back to normal.
Thank you.
So have a good afternoon.
Thank you,
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a nice day. Bye.